Hello and welcome to this Friday edition of the World Report. I'm Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. PM Narendra Modi is currently holding talks with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who's on a two-day visit, in fact, to New Delhi. The EU chief has called India a trusted strategic ally and has pushed for a free trade agreement between India and the European Union, saying it would be the largest such deal, in fact, in the world. She admitted the negotiations will be tough, but stressed that timing and political will are very crucial. In fact, von der Leyen says both sides should aim to finalize the deal this year itself and also promised a full commitment to, in fact, make it happen. She also laid out three key focus areas to take the India-EU partnership to the next level: trade, technology, security and defense, and even global partnerships. In a big announcement, she said Europe is in fact exploring a formal security and defense partnership with India as well. It'll be similar to what the EU has with Japan and with South Korea. Now, the goal is to tackle cross-border terrorism, cyber attacks, and even maritime threats together, while also collaborating on cutting-edge defense technology, including drones and space security. Now, the European Union and India have the potential to be one of the defining partnerships, in fact, of the 21st century, while pushing for a new era in relations between both the sides. Listen in.
To very briefly map out my vision of the three areas which can take our partnership to the next level. The first is trade and technology. The second is security and defense. And the third is connectivity and global partnerships. Ladies and gentlemen, the first era where I believe we can make real progress is on delivering prosperity in Europe and in India. Here we have a real shared interest and sense of purpose. India's Viksit Bharat 2047 vision will help to transform the economy and create millions of jobs, from traditional manufacturing sectors to the very high-tech industries and innovation. Europe is striving towards the same goal through our own economic and industrial transformation. And I believe that we can help each other to reach our goals. Make in India and Made in Europe can work together to drive our industries forward. And our common interests in de-risking our economies, in particular in sensitive technological areas, can help drive our economic security.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Washington, D.C. to meet U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, the two leaders are expected to finalize and possibly even sign a rare earth minerals deal, giving the U.S. access to Ukraine's critical mineral deposits. While the terms are mostly agreed, Zelensky is pushing for security guarantees to be a part of the deal as well. Now, that's something Trump says should be Europe's responsibility, in fact. The meeting comes just a day after Trump hosted UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to discuss a potential trade deal and the Ukraine war as well. More news from the US. After days of desperate appeals, the family of Neelam Shinde, an Indian student in coma currently in the US, has finally been granted emergency visas. Now, Shinde, a student at the California State University, was critically injured in a hit-and-run accident on the evening of the 14th of February earlier this month. Her family, based in Maharashtra's Satara district, had been struggling, in fact, to get a visa appointment even after learning of her tragic accident. Their initial interview slot was for next year. Following appeals through the media and intervention by leaders like Supriya Sule, the US Embassy expedited the process. The family is now set to fly to California soon. Meanwhile, the accused driver, 58-year-old Lawrence Gallo, has been arrested for the hit-and-run Shinde. Meanwhile, Shinde, in fact, remains in critical condition, though her family says there's been slight improvement. A federal judge in San Francisco has ruled the Trump administration likely broke the law by firing thousands of probationary federal workers Judge William Alsop granted temporary relief to unions and non-profits that sued to stop mass terminations by President Donald Trump. Now, the Office of Personnel Management, or the OPM as it's called, was ordered to tell agencies, including the Department of Defense, that it had no authority whatsoever to order the firings. The Trump administration argues only high-performing, mission-critical workers should in fact keep or retain their jobs, but unions say that the firings were based on false claims of poor performance. Now, this ruling comes as Trump pushes to shrink the federal workforce, calling it bloated and inefficient. Listen in to Luz Fuller. He's the local union president of American Federation of Government Employees.
They're very angry and they're very upset because the reason that they're giving them is that they're being terminated same day with no notice and being locked out of their computers by the end of the day due to poor performance, when in fact, they do not have poor performance. They have excellent performance. They have outstanding performances. A lot of them are disabled veterans. That's not supposed to happen. They're supposed to have veterans preference in a reduction in force, but their records are not correct during onboarding. So because their records are not correct, they are being fired illegally from the VA hospitals. So they're not doing their due diligence to analyze and see what the impact's going to be on the organization or the departments overall. They're not checking the performance ratings of any of these employees. They're just saying goodbye, we want you gone.
Donald Trump appeared to make a U-turn after previously describing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as a dictator. In fact, Trump has called Zelensky a dictator for not holding elections during wartime when much of Ukraine is under Russian occupation. Its soldiers are on the front lines and the country is under martial law.
Mr. President, do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer flattered US President Donald Trump with a basket of gifts on his first visit to the White House on Thursday, including commitments, in fact, to spend more money on defense, lavish praise, and a letter from King Charles III inviting Trump for a state dinner. Now, Trump was exceedingly pleased, but that didn't mean Starmer got anything in return. Trump appeared unmoved by Starmer's desperate appeal for a stronger US commitment to protecting Ukraine if and when its war with Russia ends. Starmer, conscious that Trump had rejected pleas to provide security guarantees for Ukraine, has been asking for something less. A US commitment to, in fact, to backstop European efforts to help defend Ukraine from any future invasion by Russia. Listen in.
There's a famous slogan in the United Kingdom from after the Second World War. That is that we have to win the peace. And that's what we must do now. Because it can't be peace that rewards the aggressor or that gives encouragement to regimes like Iran. We agree history must be on the side of the peacemaker, not the invader. So the stakes, they couldn't be higher. And we're determined to work together to deliver a good deal.
I think we're going to have a very successful peace, and I think it's going to be a long-lasting peace, and I think it's going to happen hopefully quickly. If it doesn't happen quickly, it may not happen at all. And we want it for two reasons. Number one, I want to see on a humane basis, I want to see soldiers stop getting shot, because largely it's soldiers now. Towns have been obliterated, but it's largely that. And I don't want to pay billions and billions and billions of dollars, nor does the Prime Minister or anybody else, on a senseless war that should have never happened.
US President Donald Trump has said that his proposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods will indeed go into effect on the 4th of March, and threatened an extra 10% duty on Chinese imports because, he claims, deadly drugs are still pouring into the US from those countries. Now, Trump said in a post on its Truth Social site on Thursday that he would impose the additional 10% tariffs on Chinese goods starting the 4th of March. Now, this would come on the top of the 10% tariff that he levied on the 4th of February on imports from China over the fentanyl opioid crisis. Israel's military has released its first official report on the failures that led to Hamas's deadly October 7 attack in 2023, which triggered, in fact, the ongoing Gaza war. Now, the report admits Israel's defense forces failed to protect civilians, underestimated Hamas's intentions, and even ignored warning signs for years together. The military chief at the time, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, had taken full responsibility and resigned, calling for a formal investigation after the war. And Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have arrived in Florida after Romanian authorities allowed them to leave the country temporarily. The brothers, who face serious charges back home in Romania, including rape, trafficking minors, and money laundering, deny all these allegations. And speaking at the airport, Andrew Tate said that they are innocent until proven guilty, and even claimed lies are being spread to ruin their reputations. Meanwhile, Romanian prosecutors say that the case is still ongoing and that the Tates must return to Romania next month. Meanwhile, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the brothers are not welcome in his state due to their alleged conduct. Listen in.
We have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States. And I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening.
And it's time we step into a short break. See you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching The World Report on NDTV. Now, Bitcoin, the world's biggest cryptocurrency, has fallen more than 5%, dropping below $80,000 for the first time, in fact, since the 11th of November last year. The world's largest cryptocurrency is under pressure after a $1.5 billion hack involving rival coin Ether, triggering investor panic. Now, concerns over President Trump's unclear crypto policy and fresh tariff threats on Canada, Mexico, and China are also weighing in heavily on sentiment. Bitcoin has lost a quarter of its value since December, when hopes were high for a more crypto-friendly administration. Meanwhile, analysts say without fresh policy announcement, momentum has faded, leaving Bitcoin vulnerable to broader market uncertainty. Elon Musk-owned Tesla has applied for its first permit in California to offer a future robotaxi service. Right now, Tesla can only test self-driving cars with human safety drivers in the state. But for a real commercial robotaxi service, the company needs multiple additional approvals, including permits for fully driverless rides. Elon Musk wants Tesla's ride-hailing service running in California and Texas this year, but experts warn that could take years to gather, in fact. Meanwhile, the company's robotaxi plans are crucial as EV demands have slowed down in the country. Musk's ties with President Trump could help, but California's strict rules remain a major hurdle for Elon Musk. Nvidia shares plunged over 8% after the company's latest revenue forecast failed to excite investors. While the company expects strong demands for its AI chips, growth is clearly and evidently slowing down. With projected revenue increases much lower than last year, margins are also set to shrink, raising fresh concerns, in fact, about profitability. Nvidia's performance is closely watched as a signal for the entire AI sector, and this disappointing outlook has added pressure on the already struggling Magnificent Seven tech stocks. Meanwhile, analysts say that the AI boom may be losing steam faster than they had earlier anticipated. Chinese tech startups are racing to secure funds after a breakthrough by AI model DeepSeek and a rare meeting between President Xi Jinping and top tech leaders in the country. The AI sector is driving a surge in venture capital activity, reviving a market that had slumped for years together due to regulatory crackdowns and even geopolitical tensions. Now, startups in AI meet medical tech, chip making, and even robotics. are at the center of this rush, with some raising millions together within just a matter of a few weeks. However, strict IPO rules in the country and tensions with the US still cast a shadow over potential exits, keeping long-term prospects uncertain, to say the least. And Apple is introducing age assurance technology to protect children's privacy on apps. The tool lets parents set a child's age in Apple accounts and share only an age range with apps, not full birth dates. Now, this move comes as US states debate new laws requiring stricter age checks for social media and even other platforms. The company says its system avoids collecting sensitive data directly while still meeting legal needs. Meta welcomed Apple's step but wants app stores to handle full verification instead. Speaking of Meta, the company is in talks to raise $35 billion to finance its massive data center expansion. Apollo Global is expected to lead the deal. With AI demand surging, Meta plans to spend up to $65 billion this year on infrastructure. Now, this includes a $10 billion AI data center in Louisiana. Meta says the Louisiana center's energy will be fully offset with renewables. The funding talks come amid investor concerns over high costs and as rival Microsoft pulls back on some data center leases. Meanwhile, Chinese AI breakthroughs are also adding pressure to cut costs, further complicating Meta's current plans. OpenAI has unveiled its new AI model GPT 4.5 in a research preview for pro users. Full rollout to more paying users starts next week. GPT 4.5 promises sharper pattern recognition, improved creativity, and fewer hallucination errors while AI generates false information. CEO Sam Altman has called it a massive, expensive model, admitting OpenAI ran out of GPU capacity for a full release. Now, GPT 4.5 also supports image uploads and coding tasks, but advanced features like voice and videos aren't ready just as yet. The company has said it is ramping up its hardware quickly to meet surging demand as AI competition heats up globally. And in the world of cricket, it's a do-or-die clash for Afghanistan in the Champions Trophy as they take on Australia in their final group match at Lahore's Gaddafi Stadium. Now, Afghanistan needs to beat the two-time champion to secure a place in the semi-finals. After losing their opening match to South Africa, Afghanistan bounced back in style, in fact, knocking defending champions England out of the tournament with a thrilling 8-run win. This is Afghanistan's second major win over England in a 50-over ICC event after their upset victory in the 2023 World Cup. Meanwhile, as we speak, Afghanistan have won the toss and have chosen to bat first. Russian chess grandmaster Boris Spassky has died at the age of 88. Spassky was the 10th world chess champion, in fact, holding the title from 1969 to 1972, before losing it to American Bobby Fischer in their famous Cold War showdown known as the Match of the Century. Spassky later moved to France and represented the country in 3 chess Olympiads. Tributes are pouring in from across the chess world, with former champion Anatoly Karpov calling Spassky an entire era in the game's history. British tennis star Emma Raducanu will return to action at the India Wells next week, her first tournament since a disturbing incident in Dubai, in fact. A man exhibited fixated behavior towards her and was removed from the stands during her match last week. Raducanu looked visibly shaken but continued to play, eventually losing the match. Dubai police meanwhile detained the man, but Raducanu decided to drop the charges. The WTA has now banned him from all its tournaments, and Raducanu will get extra security, in fact, at the Indian Wells tournament. Hollywood legend Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa have been found dead at their home in New Mexico. Police say that the couple appeared to have been deceased for some time before they were discovered. While there were no signs of forced entry or a struggle, authorities have called deaths suspicious enough to investigate thoroughly. Prescription pills and a heater were found near the bodies, along with their dead dog in a bathroom closet. Toxicology tests have been ordered to determine the cause of the death. Now, Hackman, a 2-time Oscar winner, in fact, was remembered as one of Hollywood's greatest talents. with iconic roles in The French Connection and Unforgiven. The 97th Academy Awards cinema's glitziest night, they say, are set to take place on Monday, the 3rd of March in Los Angeles, Hollywood. It's not a particularly robust year for India. Lapata Ladies, the country's official submission for Best International Feature, did not even make the cut. Neither did several independent entries. Instead, Some Home still rests with Anuja, a 22-minute short film backed by Guneet Monga and Priyanka Chopra Jonas. The film has been nominated in the Best Live-Action Short Film category. There is also I Am Reddy Warden, a documentary short produced and directed by Smriti Mandhara, an American director of Indian origin.